now, but I'll do some dramatic thing to start.
Hey. Okay. You ready?
Pegasus local politics. That could be and then it could be ongoing thing that we could come back with that same Pegasus local politics when we deal with city council stuff.
Sounds good.
Welcome. We're here with Pegasus local politics, and I have my friend Tony Orlow here, and you're running for school board?
Yes, I am.
All right, good to see you. Welcome. And so, as I understand it, one of the members dropped out, or
there were 4 candidates for 4 open seats. Apparently, one of them was disqualified, perhaps having an office in Ithaca, but not residing within the school district. Therefore, she was disqualified. And so we have 3 candidates for 4 open seats on the school board. So I've decided to throw my hat in the ring. I was going to run. I was doing nominating petition. Didn't get it together to get enough signatures on that, but now that there are 3 candidates for 4 open seats, I'm starting a write-in campaign.
Excellent. So if you want to support his candidacy, make sure to write him in when you go to vote. I see your little flyer here. It's pretty cool.
That's the first draft.
Go to the polls, and some of the things that your father, your taxpayer, former employee committed to education, or former employee of the school system, right?
Yes, I used to work for the school district.
I remember
until
information tech. You've helped me with my computer.
Yeah, I've been doing computer stuff for a long time, decades, and worked hard for the school district there, but our entire department was eliminated and outsourced, which at the same time as a bunch of other employees of the school district. And I guess if I still worked for the school district, I wouldn't be allowed to run for school board.
And some of the tenets on the flyer are that you support our teachers.
I do.
That's a good thing.
They work hard.
Temporary local taxation?
The Ithaca and Tompkins County are taxed far too much. Too much of the tax burden falls on homeowners and individuals as opposed to businesses and our universities and colleges. There's about 60% of property is tax exempt, which already causes a problem, but our school district also keeps raising taxes, and it seems that they spend money in ways that isn't the most frugal, and I think taxpayers need to be kept in mind when they make their decisions.
Yeah, that reminds me of that I receive an absentee ballot because I have a spinal injury, and so I've already voted, actually, and wrote you in. So, but we also, along with my absentee ballot, came this thing with the budget proposal and explained all the different propositions and that sort of thing. What's your view on that? I remember my dad used to always say, "Vote no on all the propositions because they just want to spend a lot of money." I don't know if that was there might be some good propositions sometimes, but I thought that was if you didn't really know what was going on.
Well, it looks like the basic budget proposal is to raise the budget again by over 2%. Well, it said over 2% of a levy increase, but it's something like 3.5% of a budget increase. I'm guessing they want to supplement the tax levy with some kind of bond issue, which is long-term debt. We've raised the budget significantly in recent years. Ithaca already spends a lot and taxpayers are paying a lot. So I would vote no on the budget, and the other 2 proposals, or propositions rather, seem to be also ways of spending more money without specifics regarding where that money is coming from. So personally, I'd vote no on all 3. I agree with your dad.
Right on. So you mean some of this is debt? You mean they're spending money and they're paying interest? They're spending.
Oh yeah, when they issue a bond, people buy bonds so that they make interest on the bonds that they buy. So when you issue a bond, that means you're taking like a 10-year bond. There's stuff that we're still paying for. I can't remember how long ago it was, but they took out, I believe, I could be wrong about this, but I think it was a 10-year bond to buy computer equipment. If you're paying for it for 10 years, that computer equipment is obsolete long before you're done paying for it. So, you know, you have to be very careful about issuing bonds, and when you issue a bond and assume long-term debt, you need to make sure that what you're borrowing for is really a long-term need.
Yeah. Yeah, the computer program are like, they've probably thrown it out before it's even paid.
Oh, right. It's obsolete before you're done paying for it. So what was the point?
Yeah. And I think there were some issues with just functionality of some of the people that you worked with when you were there. Some of the computer systems didn't even work, and they were, what was it, those boards or something?
Oh, well, I mean, there were some technical issues with the smart boards. We were rather short-staffed. There were smart boards where the sound never worked. I personally discovered 3 of them that the sound didn't work because they were just wired incorrectly by contractors that were hired to install them rather than actual employees of the school district, which doesn't make much sense. You know, these contractors probably came from out of state someplace. It's best for the school district to invest their money in employing people that live within the school district and contribute to the tax base and are part of the community. But these things were just wired incorrectly, you know, and they had been in there for years. So, yeah, I mean, but that's just a technical issue. That's not really an administrative or budgetary issue.
Yeah,
so.
I didn't mean to go off on that, but just the fact, it just freaked me out, the fact that they're borrowing money, they're spending money that they don't have, and then the interest is like.
Yeah, as well as increasing taxes, and then at one point they were, and I don't think this went through at all, but at one point they were talking about a utility tax that would add, I don't know, a mere 1% to your NYSEG bill, which already has close to a dozen different surcharges and fees and all of this business. You know, it's like looking at your telephone bill when you have a landline. It's like, what does that even mean? And they wanted to add another one. I tried to look at my NYSEG bill to see if there was any such thing that I could tell that it was that. There were some mysterious things. I couldn't tell what the heck they were, but I don't think that ever went through. But that was right after they increased the budget by something like 6%. And we had a whole vote on whether to, you know, and that required 60% of the vote in the school district, I believe, to override the statewide 2% per year tax or levy increase or tax rate increase for any given school district. So, I would look to make the school district more frugal, think more carefully about where we're spending our money. If we consider a bond, I would think that we should really require that it be a long-term necessity and not something that's going to be obsolete or useless before the thing is paid off. Taxpayers deserve a little bit more respect in this town and in this county, so that's definitely one of many considerations.
Right on. So does the school board determine these propositions? Like who makes the decision? I'm not even sure exactly what decisions the school board makes.
I believe that the school board, in conjunction with the superintendent, come up with these propositions. what they're not already authorized to authorize, they have to put up for a vote. So these propositions, and I'm not really sure exactly what they mean, but the way I read them is, we'd like to spend more money and we don't really want to give you any details, but can we? And I would just vote no on those. It's like, no, you're already spending too much money on stuff that doesn't matter. Like all the technology required by Common Core, all the testing that requires special computers that are up to code that, you know, and none of that really contributes to education. It's all about testing and pressure and judging not just students, but the teachers on their performance. And there's too much emphasis on testing performance rather than fostering actual education and learning. And a lot of that is being pushed by Pearson, which is the big testing company out of the UK, and all the technology providers like Google and Microsoft and Apple that are vying to sell machines for lots of money and then telling you, you know, a few years later that they're not good enough anymore. You know, we don't need to be spending a lot of money stressing out our students and our teachers. We need to be spending more money on people that are helping our students learn and fostering good community in the schools, and not on machines that they hope will replace teachers and library clerks and people in the halls. You know, now they're talking about a surveillance system in the hallways in the high school that, you know, cameras in the hallways might be able to tell who was responsible for what problem after the fact, but it's not going to prevent the problem from happening. Whereas if you have actual people in the hallways, not only can they prevent a problem, but they might be able to tell when a student is distraught and just needs help, you know. There's no way that technology can replace all the functions of human beings taking care of our children.
Right on. I support that.
And that's coming from a technology guy.
Yeah.
I'm a computer guy, but they don't do everything.
You mentioned Common Core. Now so it sounds like that's more having the appearance of progress in education rather than concentrating on the all the testing. I'm not even.
Common Core is a really complicated subject. At the same time, they're trying to. It seems like they're trying to change the ways we teach kids, and one of the strangest examples is in math. And you know, I remember learning in the traditional way, and I learned math correctly, and then they were talking about trying to use the Singapore method, which is what they used when I was a kid, and it worked. It's just straightforward. You want to add 6 numbers, you have the ones column and tens column and hundreds and thousands, and you have to memorize your addition and multiplication tables. And really, you should be done with that by like 3rd grade if you want to be good at math. But now they have all this funny stuff where they make these diagrams and they want to approximate a result rather than figure it out exactly. And they have all these different ways. Like, I try to help my daughter with her math, and sometimes it's like, what is this? Put it in what kind of a form? What does that mean? Do you have like an answer sheet? Okay. Oh, I kind of see what they're doing, but you know, and I always aced math, and now they've just changed it. And then the other side of Common Core is all this testing of students, not just to figure out how the students are doing, but how well the teachers are doing. And that misses the mark so badly in a number of respects. You know, first of all, all the testing you do on kids does not teach them anything. It stresses them out, especially when you have like 3 days of testing in a row for what they don't know. They're not learning anything. There's all this review and teaching for the test that the state and the country is imposing. But then they try to use it to judge how teachers are performing. And when you really look at teacher performance and, you know, with regard to how well the students are performing, teacher performance accounts for about 20% of student performance, and there's all these other factors in there that are more sociological. You know, if the students are coming to school hungry, they're not learning. If they have to go through a bad neighborhood, they're stressed out by the time they get there. If they go home to parents that, you know, have their own problems, based on poverty, perhaps drug abuse, or other kinds of abuse that they've gone through, their own lack of attention to the child, it's hard for the child to do homework at home or concentrate when they're distracted by hunger, poverty, other social problems. And the teacher really has very little control over that. And best estimates are a teacher's performance as a teacher is about 20% of the contribution to a child's performance. So putting all this pressure on teachers is really misguided, and ultimately, from what I understand, really it's a ruse to attack teachers' unions and try to break teachers' unions as well as other unions. You know, the whole, there's been a big attack on unions in general. And teachers need their unions. Personally, I used to think unions were kind of overblown and they ask for too much. But seeing the teachers under such attack by federal and state authorities, they need the unions all the more. You know, I was in the teachers union and they violated the rules to save money and outsource us for more state control, whatever their reasoning was. The school district is following the state and Cuomo in disrespecting the unions, in my opinion. So that's one thing I would like to correct. Teachers need our support. Our students need the teachers' support. The teachers need our support.
Excellent. I agree with that.
It's a complicated situation. It's not easy, but.
So if you like what you're hearing here, he wasn't able to get in on the. They actually sent this out. Lauren got one of these, and it was like a day later where you could register to be. Right.
Well, she said it's probably in my mailbox now, but she said she received that this morning. Maybe it was delivered yesterday, I don't know. But yesterday was the deadline to get an absentee ballot. So this definitely did not come in time to alert people that wanted an absentee ballot to register. You can turn in your absentee ballot up till Tuesday the 17th, but you can't register to use an absentee ballot until yesterday. So, you know, that's where the communication from the school district is not really encouraging participation, which, you know, is another one of my bullet points, which is community involvement. You know, people need to be given more heads up as to what's going on in the school district.
That's what happened to me. I got my first absentee ballot without even having this to explain it, sent that in, and then they resent it because that one member dropped out, so they had to do a revote.
Right.
So then this copy of this came the same day as my absentee ballot, so then I finally did have an explanation of what the proposals were, but the first ballot came like weeks before.
Right,
So.
Right, yeah. Absentee ballots in general, you have to register to file an absentee ballot long before the actual vote. You know, and are you suddenly disabled or suddenly, no, you know, if that's the case, you're not generally bothering to vote. So if you qualify for an absentee ballot, you generally know that pretty long beforehand. So I don't know why they're suggesting that you have until yesterday to register.
Somebody got the bailing out late. But as far as voting for you, they can do a write-in. So
Oh, yeah.
I remember on my absentee ballot, and probably the similar thing when they go into the voting booth, is that you can do a write-in. And so that's what I would recommend if you like what you're hearing here. And then you can also see the city councils. In fact, I was in the control room, and there's not a city council, the school board meeting is actually airing right now. So you can look at some of what they're talking about, and you can compare it to.
Wait, right? Well, it should be a little bit later in the day, but yeah, I think it's at 6 or something like that.
She said it was taped yesterday, and she couldn't. Channel 16.
Oh no, yes, it would have been yesterday. That's right.
Yeah, but they're airing it for some reason now. But what my point was that viewers can compare. I guess it's open to the public, though, isn't it?
It is. It is, and anybody can go to the school board meeting. You get 3 minutes to speak. Generally, unless they tell you to shut up, which they're not allowed to do. If you want to speak at the school board meeting, you can speak about whatever you want. You get 3 minutes. Anybody who's in the district, a parent, taxpayer, anyone who wants to be involved.
Excellent. And so they can go there and see what those folks are saying, and they've heard what you're saying here. And if you like what you're hearing, make sure to write Tony in. And it doesn't have to be the exclusion of, if you support some of these other candidates, it doesn't have to be the exclusion, because they have a lot of vacancies. They didn't have enough people to run, really. Or this doesn't have the list of people, or does it? But anyway, yeah, there's only 3.
Right, there were 4
and
candidates,
one dropped out because of residency requirements.
Right. And, Eldred Harris is okay. He was appointed, apparently there were 2 seats vacated last year, and he was appointed to fill one of them. I guess they didn't appoint anyone to fill the other one. And he's okay. You could vote to re-elect him, but otherwise I'd leave the whole thing blank and just write me in.
Right on. Well, any concluding things that you want to follow up with? I think we've covered a lot.
Well, I've really just embarked on this sort of last minute because, like I say, I was trying to get my nominating petition together, and due to other circumstances and things I had to take care of, I didn't get enough signatures and turn it in on time. But so this is sort of a last minute thing, but I'm gonna set up an email address for anybody who has any questions for me or wants to send me hate mail or whatever. It'll be
we'll roll that now.
You could do that, yeah. I think I'm gonna make it Tony4, the numeral 4, icsd@gmail.com, and I'll set that up tonight.
Excellent.
So write me, challenge me, hopefully write me in.
Oh, that's great. You're willing to interact with people.
Oh, sure. Yeah, of course. That's one of the things I want to see happen more, is like more interaction with the school district. School board puts out things like this where it kind of reads like excuses, and then they do things in executive session behind the curtain, and you'd never really know what it is they're voting on, even if you go to the board meeting. It's like, okay, we'll just, so that thing that we talked about there, okay, all hands up, okay, that's voted in. And you don't really know what exactly they just voted for. There's different, some things are more transparent. The stuff they want to talk about is transparent. Then the stuff they don't want to talk about, they sort of talk about in private session.
So it sounds like you would advocate full disclosure to the
certainly. Right, I wouldn't want to sneak anything past the people that are paying for the school district. They have a right. Yeah. I mean, one has to keep in mind, of course, that when one assumes any political office, there's always somebody telling you what your job is. But then again, the people that elect you are really your bosses. So,
Yeah.
You know, like as an elected official, you are representing those people that supported you during the election. In return, you need to support them and represent them. That's what democracy is supposed to be about. We're learning a lot about democracy these days in this presidential election cycle. But, and you know, your vote might not count in the presidential election. A lot of people are like, why even bother? And that's why you see such low voter turnout. But your vote counts for everything in the local election. You know, our illustrious mayor was just reelected unopposed, was that last year? With about 10% of the eligible voters in the city. So people, even if you don't believe in voting, even if you think it doesn't make a difference, go vote for Mickey Mouse. That at least, and I just responded, I don't know if you saw, I responded to your Facebook post that you were telling me about. I'm like, just, you know, if you go vote for Mickey Mouse or vote for yourself, and then you can say, hey, I was a candidate. But at least that sends a message that there is voter turnout, but you're not voting for the people that really want it, which usually the people that are trying to get elected don't really deserve it. But I hope that I'm not one of those, you know. I'm a Bernie guy. I hope I'm a little bit like Bernie. But in any case, you write me or stop me in the street, bother me, you know.
Part of that, I really appreciate that you have that accessibility. And so will you maintain that accessibility once you're elected?
Yeah, unless they put a gag order on me and threaten me with murder. Yes, no, of course, yeah. No, I'm happy to hear all sorts of opinions, as long as people aren't yelling at me or like threatening me with something. That's, yes, I'm always happy to talk to anybody and discuss almost anything on the planet. But, you know, in this case, you know, yes, about school district, I want to hear whatever concerns anybody has.
Well, thank you very much for coming on Pegasus Local Politics.
Thank you.
It. I really loved your piece on the Verizon Union.
Well, and thanks for your camera work. I think the thing, and we got very lucky with Jim Reeves. He was very well spoken and knowledgeable. It was a great piece, and you can look for that on either of our YouTube channels or catch it on Pegasus.
All right. Well, I guess we're good to go. Just make sure to write Tony in, and the electronic ballots, I'm not even sure. The last time I voted, it was, because I've been doing absentee, it was the old lever thing. Where you
no. At this point, it's, you get a sheet of paper. There will be, there are little ovals that you fill in with a pen. But then there are a couple of lines at the bottom, and you don't have to fill in all the ovals. Right? Just fill in the ones that, you know, of people that you want to elect, right? So if you don't know any of the other people, don't vote for them. But please do write me in. It's Tony Orlow. It's O-R-L-O-W, as in either high or low. That's how it's spelled.
Oh, you're going to zero this in on the camera, but
we'll
run a...
yeah, you'll do
some wording.
Sounds fantastic, but... yeah, it's a piece of paper, and then you feed it into a machine, and it tells you, okay, your vote's been registered. But yeah, there's a couple lines at the bottom for write-in candidates, and you know that's what I did. You know, with the last year's election, I did a write-in for the first time in my life. That was kind of fun, and I'll probably do one for the presidential election. The way things are going, we'll see about that. You know. Maybe there will be a line for independent, or, well, God only knows what's going to happen.
Well, I'm hoping Bernie Sanders will get the nomination, and then
he'll... well, and yet that's well beyond the scope of this discussion, isn't it?
Yeah. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, and please vote for Tony if you like what you're hearing here, and thank you.